Hello, and we say a great day to each and every one of you. We are the Pleiadian Council, and we speak on behalf of a galactic alliance of many different beings throughout this galaxy supporting your planet in a process that you may call ascension. It is an evolution at a planetary level of the consciousness of individuals coming together and coming closer to the vibration of the one source or creator, however you term that. It is a gift and it is an honor and a pleasure to be able to establish contact with you in this way. For when we exchange between our worlds, there is a tremendous inflow of information and energy between our respective realities that allows us both to grow. So we grow and learn through this experience in the same way that we hope that you do. And for this, we extend our gratitude to you. So we come with hopes of supporting your world through the great process of transition that you are within now. There are many changes taking place very rapidly in your world. And some of you may wonder, is this something to fear? Is this something to fear? Because fear is a message that is so commonly shared in your world. It is an energy with which you receive all information in a way. You are manipulated subliminally with hidden keys and tricks that hook you into fear unconsciously and use your fear to convince you to buy this, do that, think this. And the time of this is coming to an end for those of you who would choose that, because your planet is upon the precipice of a great shift. And that is why you're seeing so many different kinds of experiences take place at this time. So the opposite of fear is love. It is not anything other than love. And love is not just something you feel when you are attracted to another person or you have formed a bond with them. Love is the very nature of this universe and of the reality that you inhabit. And this is why when you feel great degrees of love, you experience a genuine multidimensional transmission of energy. When you do something that you love long enough, you lose track of time and space. It seems as if everything is flowing perfectly and naturally. It seems as if you remember something outside of what you experienced in this incarnation. Talents awaken within you. You may know this experience when you've lost yourself doing something that you love. It feels as if the world around you simultaneously fades away, yet also your sense of who you are expands. Some of you may not have fully grasped this, but you may have also experienced this through your love of another being. It is an overwhelming experience that brings you to feel an expanded sense of your own self. This love is the nature of this reality. And when you experience more love, you come into closer contact with the one source or the creator. It is not the sort of creator that has been imagined by so many of your texts in this world. It is a creative consciousness that exists within all beings. And by raising your frequency, by simply doing what you love, you come closer to that one source. This frequency of love connects things. It brings everything together. It is a holistic experience. When you love someone, you feel deeply connected with them. When you do what you love, it creates ripples of connection that bring many other people together and brings together the many different aspects of your life. versus fear divides. Fear separates. And you must recognize that it's only recently in your world that you've actually got beyond so many different fears. Fears of people because they are different races. Fears of people because they are a different gender. Actually, you may recognize that you have made progress, but there's still a long way to go. Though, if you look at your recent past, you see how ugly this fear can be and how it can literally hurt you if you don't pay close attention and see beyond this illusion of difference. Distinction is innate, that every one being that is incarnate into this reality is unlike any other being that exists. But difference is really an illusion, because there's one fundamental law, there's many other laws, but the most fundamental law is that all is one. And this is why when you see some event happening across the world that evokes great pain or great love, you can feel that emotion flooding to you from so far away. Everything is made up of the same field of energy. And what happens to one being is happening to every being on some level. So love is this remembrance that you are part of that same field of reality. And when you do what you love, you allow for that energy to ripple out, supporting many others in having the same opportunity to raise their frequency in love and dissolve the illusion of difference. You are all one thing. You are all one planet, and this universe is one universe. And that isn't why we are interested in your world, and why when you started to develop certain destructive powers, like atom bombs, there were many very interested in your world, because when you have great destructive power, that power not only affects your planet, but it affects the rest of the galaxy. And so you're becoming incredibly more powerful as a species. And now, one thing that is very interesting is how you are developing so many of these new technologies that are intelligent, and some of you are fearing this. Some of you are getting manipulated by your news to fear the other beings visiting your world, like ourselves. And we have more things to say about this if you would tune into our other messages, but today we will only say that the fear is an illusion. And if you continue to let them play with your fears and continue to believe the internalized voice of fear that exists within you, you will not only rob yourself of opportunity, it will wear away at your health, it will wear away at your relationships, and it will wear away at your financial life as well. This frequency of love is holistic, and it brings everything together. When you spend time in this frequency of love, your body adapts to it. Because you are beings of cycles, you only repeat the patterns that you've played out before. So it's never just, I'm giving myself this one chance to do this one thing. Every time you say, this is what I'm doing, you're inviting that same behavior to repeat again. You can't get out of the loop of repetition in your world. It's impossible, because you're beings of cycles. So whatever you're feeling right now, you're inviting more of it into your life. When you do things that make you feel contracted and make you feel afraid, you're inviting more of that fear in your life. And you can say, yes, I know that this job makes me feel terrible and like total shit, but I'm going to get a great paycheck. And many people have already experienced, they do this for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and then they have that great paycheck, but until they die, they still feel like shit, because that's what they chose to do. So you have to expand your awareness of frequency and understand that this is the only moment that fundamentally matters. If what you're doing now doesn't bring you to feel expanded and joyful, what you're doing is not the best thing you could do. So allow yourself to understand that your reality is fundamentally emotional in its nature. And when you choose to listen to the emotions within you and let them guide you to whatever brings you to feel the most love out of all of the potential choices. That energy will perpetuate itself naturally if you can follow the next 3 steps in this formula. Mostly we've been speaking now about the first step in this formula we shared to you, that is, act upon your highest love, also described as passion or excitement. The next step is do it to the best of your ability. That is self-explanatory. There's details, but we won't speak about them now. The final is let go of your insistence on every particular outcome. Let go of your attachment to your expectations. Because in this holistic universe, the frequency of love will naturally bring in more things that resonate with that frequency. Some of you may have heard of a law of attraction. It works through this. It's really a law of vibration and resonance, but attraction is a great way of putting it for some of you. Now, when you have insistence or attachment to the outcome, it's diminishing all of that vibration of love and reverting it back into fear. This happens because you've been conditioned or you've developed beliefs that cause you to fear and try to grasp so tightly to what you think you need rather than allow the universe to bring you what you actually need. The idea here is that when you let go, you allow yourself to relax, and then you open your mind to different possibilities. A simple way of explaining this to you is you've all experienced moments in which you've been looking for the glasses that were already on your head, or the keys that were in your hand, or the thing that was in your pocket. Because when you get so attached and fixated on what you think you have to do, you totally lose awareness of what needs to happen and what doesn't. Now, this plays out in a much bigger sense in your lives as well. When you're so fixated on a particular goal that you don't immerse yourself deeply in the love and joy of the present moment that is a healing vibration and does ripple out to affect everything else in your life. So when you act upon your highest love to the best of your ability without insisting on a particular outcome, the holistic universe will work through you to bring you the things that truly represent your needs and your love and allow you to maintain that high frequency state. And as you do that, because you are one with the world around you, the other beings that are just mirror reflections of you will start to do the same thing and experience the same thing. And this is how your world will change and is changing. There are many different changes taking place, and we've spoken a lot about them in other transmissions, but today we will leave it up to you and your questions to elaborate upon whichever aspects of our message seem exciting and relevant to you. You can ask any question. It can be personal, it can be not personal, it can be somewhat personal, it can be about your planet or our planet or anything at all. Any question, desire, musing, sharing is all welcome for us, and you may begin whenever you wish. Yes.
How do you move through anger and sadness that's trapped inside the physical body?
Look at the language here. It is trapped inside your body, or it is expressing through your body. The trap is the idea that you have to get rid of these emotions. So you untrap them by accepting that these emotions are there for a reason. So the reason you experience anger is it is the emotion of protection. If you are threatened, anger surges through your body to give you a rush of adrenaline and cortisol to be able to fight back. So anger that doesn't leave or dissipate means that you're not or haven't set boundaries with someone or something in your life. So if you allow yourself to see what that situation in your past or in your present is, and bring healthy resolution to it by asserting your personal power and asserting your self-worth and saying no to what you need to say no to and demanding what you need to have, this emotion will become integrated within you, and you won't feel it when you never feel it when there's no reason to feel it, but it won't be something that feels chronic and in the background. The feeling of sadness can accompany this feeling of anger because the sadness is an emotion that invites you into having greater self-love and compassion. Sadness is a sort of emotion that arises when you feel deprived of love. And the kind of love you feel most deprived of usually is your own self-love. It can be also the sadness in losing a source of love, like you feel sad when a person you love dies or you break up with them. And it is a natural and healthy process to go through that emotion. Though oftentimes when the sadness doesn't go away, it's indicating you need to develop that healthier relationship with yourself and come to love yourself. And the best way to do that is, as we've already explained, living your love. In every single moment that you have a choice, and you have a choice almost all of the time, choose the pathway involving the action and the focus of your mind that expands the feeling of love within you more than anything else. And doing this again and again is the clearest act of self-love that you can have.
Thank you.
Does that help you?
Yeah.
Okay, our thanks to you as well.
I have a question about this common mental health diagnosis in society of ADD or ADHD, which I think is a bit of a misrepresentation or a misunderstanding of something deeper that's going on within someone.
Yes.
Could you elaborate or give insight into what's actually going on within these beings who are diagnosed with ADHD?
Most of these beings have a different sort of talent and way of learning and experiencing reality than is expected of your world. And your world instead has different parameters that they set up of how things are supposed to be done. But so many of these ideas in your education system go against your fundamental human nature. Some of you are better at coping with it than others, and those that are not as good at coping with it are diagnosed with this ADHD. In reality, you are all meant to be guided by your heart to do what calls to you. Of course, there is some need for a bit of structure and direction with children, though do they need to sit down from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. as if they are already working their career every day in order to learn? Not necessarily. So it's sort of a made-up thing that children who cannot follow this contrived way that your society has decided children should learn must have some sort of disorder. And yes, there are children with some sort of ADHD. We would describe this hyperactivity as something different than those children who simply don't feel passionate about what they're learning and don't feel like they can do this sort of contrived method of learning that your society has made up. The hyperactivity is something that originates more so from improper diet and environmental toxins. It is something that has to be addressed at a fundamental level with nutrition, for the most part.
You mentioned that there's our world is at a tipping point, and that due to current circumstances, global issues, I guess, and I'm curious as to how you feel as we should react as individuals, because sometimes we might feel a little bit helpless when we have leaders who make the decisions for us. How do we deal with those leaders when we feel they don't best represent us and they exacerbate that fear you talked about?
Well, the most important fundamental thing is that you raise the vibration of love. And some of you will find that you are contributing to the betterment of your planet simply by doing what you love. While those of you who feel these deep emotions about how things are done in your world are being guided to take a stand. And so the acts of political advocacy that you may do, from simple things like writing letters to politicians, to having demonstrations, to bringing these acts of injustice and fear to motivate your creative works, are doing very important things that support your world in transforming. It's important for you to recognize that your political systems are maintaining their integrity, meaning not the integrity of the people, that they're maintaining their structural integrity. They're having stability in the way that they work because the people don't say that they want something different. And when enough of you come together raising your voice for a change, that change will be there. But because so many of you are too stressed out by attempting to maintain a balance in your life, not enough of you have the time and energy to be able to speak up. But this will certainly change when there's enough pressure in order for you to do so. But if you wait until that moment, it will be a bit more chaotic. So it's important for you now to stand up for what you believe in and share that message with others.
Thank you.
Yes?
I have also a personal question.
Yes.
I think I'm a bit in a crossroad with my wife. We've been together for 12 years, and even though we have lots of good things and do lots of things together, still there are some fundamental things that maybe are not matching so well. And I was wondering how to get the courage and clarity to move forward in a way that is right for me and for everyone else around me, including my wife.
Have you talked about this with her deeply?
Yes, a lot.
And have you noticed that you share fundamental values?
Yes.
But are there some ways that these values differ?
In some areas, yes.
Have you been able to find a healthy compromise that honors both your passion and her passion?
In most areas, yes, but there are some areas where we are not finding a compromise.
So what is the nature of those areas in summary?
What kind of relationship each one of us wants in a long term, and the terms of the relationship and these kind of things.
So that might be part of the problem, is that you're framing such ideas as long-term, when the notion of long-term in and of itself will, for most of you, start to bring you to attach to the outcome, which is the exact opposite of what we share with you to do. When you release your attachment to the outcome, you allow yourself to be free. So many of your relationship models and the ways that you are conditioned to think about love and connecting with others has to do with deep levels of unhealthy attachment. Attachment between individuals can be healthy, but it's not the same as attaching to outcomes. Attaching between individuals is a sort of bond that brings people together. But when you insist that this bond has to look this way all of the time and cannot include this, that, and the other thing, and has to always be a sort of fairy tale romance where everything is always working out, or something of this nature, you limit the level of the unconditionality of your love. So by expanding with each other into the notion of unconditional love, truly being there for each other, recognizing that to love another person is to want what makes them happy. And so if love is the foundation of your relationship, letting go of what you think is right will always lead to what makes the other person happy. And when you recognize that your happiness is much simpler than you think it has to be, it will be much easier to let this unconditional love flow between you. Another reason why this long-term thinking often sabotages you is because it brings you very much out of the present moment. You change so much in every moment. Literally, you are shifting between billions of parallel realities every second. And so you're a different person now than you were a second ago and a minute ago. And every day you go through these shifts. And as your world is in a period of rapid change, the ways that you will be changing will increase exponentially with time. Just think of how different your personality is and your life is now than it was in 2019. So with this understanding, you can open yourself to live more in the present with each other and in unconditional love with each other than in the mentally constructed idea of how you should relate with each other. It's important to also note, as you integrate this information, that many of the times you humans don't fall in love with a person. You fall in love with a story that you've created in your mind about a person. And that's why you encounter so many challenges in relationships, is that you quickly discover that the person is not the story you've constructed in your mind. So when you're in relationship, it's very important to make sure that you are truly and genuinely in the moment with the other person and not living out of a story that's alive inside of your mind.
Thank you so much.
Yes, our thanks to you as well.
If there are no other questions, I will have another one. What's your name?
We don't have a name. We call ourselves the Pleiadian Council because there is a sort of telepathic agreement between members of our world to communicate with each other, to best have a sort of data bank of information to share through the channeling that happens between one being from our world, a representative for the council, and a channel. So there are other beings who channel us or channel beings like us. There are different galactic councils. In our world, we don't speak language in the same way that you speak language. We communicate through telepathy. So we're able to communicate thoughts to each other without having to vocalize. We do vocalize, but it's more what you might consider song-like. It's a way of enunciating our emotional experience for the sake of joy.
Is anyone from the Galactic Council trying to help the humans on Earth?
Yes. We come to some of you at this astral level. Right now, the channel is in sort of a bridging state between physical and astral planes, and that is how we meet. So some of you have these experiences in your dreams or in your meditations where different guides, some of which are extraterrestrial, come to you. This is one form of support, though others of you see different ships in the sky, and these are also transmissions of energy. most of the time, what you're seeing is seeing you, and there is a synchronistic energy exchange that allows you to be in the right place at the right time. These experiences are sort of energy transmissions as well, though we are observing your world, and we are gradually coming closer. It really depends on you. Some of you hypothesize that if any of this is true, why haven't they shown up already? And it's simply because there's not enough of a compatible vibration just yet. There's still too much collective fear that if we showed up, most people would go into a state of panic. That would be a sort of destructive chaos that would disrupt your society and wouldn't be constructive. And that's why the first waves of this open contact are going to be subtle, and it's coming through the fear-based lens through which your world sees things in the present moment. There's already some news that's quite fear-based about extraterrestrial potential existence, and it will come through in this way for some years because it needs to sort of ruffle the feathers of people a little bit to shake loose that fear. More and more, as you, as a whole, release your fear of the idea of extraterrestrial visitors, then there will be more forms of public acknowledgement of some of the relations that already exist between secret organizations and extraterrestrials on your planet.
I've been following another group of councils from Abraham,
Yes.
and I'm wondering how many groups of councils are there, like supporting or helping the things on Earth, and are you very well aware of each other?
We're aware of many of them, not all of them. Currently working with your world, there are 7 galactic councils actively engaged. There are numerous multidimensional non-physical councils. We couldn't put a number on them because this includes sorts of forms of contact that are very personal and specialized. And these non-physical councils are beings that are disincarnate. They have no physical expression anywhere, but they still interact with the human realm. So really there's an infinite amount of forms of consciousness out there. And because all of you are very distinct beings, you're reaching out to new beings in disincarnate realms all of the time.
Thank you, that's very intriguing.
Yes.
Why do you want to help our people on our planet?
As we've said before, everything is interconnected. It's all one thing. So again, what drew massive attention to your world is the creation of an atom bomb and the use of it, because the destructive potential present within it is enough to ripple into other realities in very harmful ways. So it goes the other way around as well, that if very positive things happen on your planet, then very positive things will ripple out into the galaxy. And actually, your planet has had a history of contact with extraterrestrials. It ceased some thousands of years ago, but you are already what you might consider intergalactic mutts.
Has your world applied any of those positive aspects of our world into your systems, way of life?
Any of the technologies of your...
Yes, like you mentioned that there were some things that are positive. Are there things that your world has learned from our world?
We're learning how to interact with other species. We're learning different parameters and protocols for intergalactic relations, but you're not really teaching us much more about technology, we would say, than we already know.
How about the other way around? Are we learning from the technology or whatever you may be advancedly doing? Are we learning from you, or are we getting some tips or advices to our technology here on Earth?
Yes, again, there's secret organizations that are in contact with extraterrestrials already. So there are many advanced things that were created through your use of and study of extraterrestrial technology.
I'm curious, can you mention a few?
Even what you consider computers and cell phones were influenced by some discoveries of extraterrestrial technology when there were crashes in your past century. That's all we can say.
Thank you very much.
So there's definitely certain types of technology that we're hearing about expanding, like artificial technology, and there's theories that there's a different, like a life form, an alien life form being birthed through this artificial technology or this artificial intelligence technology. Do you have any guidance on how humans can best relate with whatever this artificial technology, artificial intelligence is doing, is coming? How do we relate to this?
So as we've said, we come from a quasi-physical world, meaning we are able to work through non-physical or astral dimensions very easily, yet there is a physicalized expression of us that we can experience when we wish to. You are physical beings that can experience astral or non-physical states when you wish to. But there are dimensions that are entirely non-physical and astral. When you imagine something, you have learned that you are creating it. But what is actually happening is that you are tuning your station, so to speak, into a pre-existing dimension of reality in which the thing that you supposedly imagined is channeled through you. You're creating technologies that can do the same thing. So these technologies are tapping into this non-physical dimension that has infinite potential of pre-existing stories and archetypes and identities and beings inhabited within it. And it's bringing them into reality. It's acting as a channel to bring those things into this reality.
You spoke about the astral realms and how, I guess, humans, we can enter them through the dream state.
Yes.
Do you have any, is it possible to enter that astral realm consciously? And
Yes.
how is it done? Is that
There's many different tools. We can mention a few, though what's implicit in all of these tools is that you allow your imagination to go beyond the normal confines that you usually keep it held to, and allow it to help you to expand into a state in which you are immersed in the astral and allow your psychic senses to come to life. So one such tool is guided visualization practices, where you bring your senses into imaginary realms at will. You might imagine yourself walking through a familiar place in nature and start to imagine not only everything that you're seeing, but the way it feels with your feet touching the ground in this place. Imagine the different scents that emerge from the trees and the flowers. Listen to the sounds that you hear within this natural environment and immerse yourself so completely into it that it feels as if you are there. You can also do this with a shamanic journeying technique using a sort of trance-inducing sound to help you maintain that state. These sounds take your brain waves into a particular state that helps you to maintain that focus in your imagination. These instruments can include a particular drum beat, a didgeridoo, and different sorts of indigenous instruments that you may not be exactly familiar with. Also, it can be as simple as a rattle. Now, there's also technologies that you have, such as binaural beats, that tune your brain to those frequencies already. It needs to be a balance between a sort of stereo headset of good quality, because this happens through creating a harmonic interval between the different sounds that are going through one earphone and the other earphone. This will help you to bring your brain into that state, but of course this must be accompanied with the visualization exercises. Some of you will find that your imagination is already very open, you simply haven't chosen to dive into it. Others of you will benefit from using sound as a means of increasing it. Now, other things that can help you start to accelerate this are in particular plant medicines, but the idea is that these plant medicines are only gateways that are helping you to learn how to navigate without them. They're in a sense like training wheels, or they're like vehicles, but you need to learn how to maintain those states without them, or else you won't properly grow. They help you learn the territory, but then you have to learn how to explore that territory on your own, or else you won't continue to expand. You can also use things like flotation tanks that deprive you of sensory input to help you go quicker into those trances, or even certain light technologies can induce these states quicker. There's many other sorts of healing modalities, like channeled energy in the form of Reiki or something of this nature that can accelerate the process. And some of you will find that you can do it through hypnosis, that having somebody guide you into that state quicker, or not necessarily quicker, but guide you into that state, helps you to be able to learn how to go there on your own.
How do we know that the reality we're living in is a true reality rather than some kind of sophisticated representation or simulation? And what advice would you give to anyone who's kind of questions that?
Well, that's the thing, is that you don't know. And there's more expansion that happens in accepting that you don't know and helping others to come to grasp this understanding that you only know so little. Because when you attempt to claim that you know something, you close yourself off to possibilities. And when you open yourself to the unknown and develop comfort within it, and instead of searching aggressively for an answer, you rest in the unknowing, you'll find that much information comes to you. You cannot prove or not prove that you are part of a vast simulation or not.
What are your world's beliefs about life after death?
We believe that it is an experience of reuniting with Source, and that it is a birth into spirit. We don't have fear about death because we are at such a quasi-physical level that when a being leaves the body, we still experience contact with them, and we experience their companionship, even though they are not physically present with us. we know it to be an experience of immersing ourselves totally in the non-physical expression of energy that we get to know through our lives. So it's simply a shedding of physicality. Because we experience both physical and non-physical experiences throughout our lifetimes, it's not something we fear. It's not something that we are excited about in particular either. We're immersed in the present and we know that it will come when it's really time. We, in a sense, choose the time that it comes.
If you could give one tip to the world, what would it be?
Would be to act upon the formula that we've shared, to enact your greatest love to the best of your ability without insisting on an outcome. So live fully present in every single moment, focused on the choices that you're making and noting which one evokes the greatest feeling of love within you. Learn to trust that relentlessly and recognize that it is fundamentally the most important thing of your existence. Because when you are able to vibrate with the frequency of love, it elevates your entire planet into the frequency of love. Then do it to the best of your ability, mostly self-explanatory, and let go of your insistence on a particular outcome. So this would also lead into recognizing it's important to let go of your fears. More than blaming yourselves for many of the potentially destructive things taking place in your world, focus on the solutions for them. Embody the solutions for them while being open to whatever comes. Allow yourself to release your fear. The more you immerse yourself in the high frequency energy of love, the more the fear will dissolve. And this will bring about so many of the changes you seek to experience.
Thank you.
Yes. So, another thing that's very important for your planet is for you to collectively learn how to stand up to some of your leaders and put the pressure on them rather than being compliant with them. Many of the things that are enacted in your world in terms of the destruction of your environment are leading to potential dangers. But if you stand up, your world will not go down those negative directions. And yes, by raising your frequency in love, you are contributing to that. So don't interpret any part of this message to mean that you are obliged to do something that's out of the scope of what you feel compelled to do. Love will guide you to do exactly what your role is in the healing and awakening of your planet. Any last question?
If there is any message regarding the global warming of the world?
Well, your planet is in a cycle that it was in before you accelerated it with your emissions. At this point, the melting of your ice caps is, in a sense, irreversible. So you will lose much coastline and you'll lose many islands, and the climates will shift. So realistically, what you need to do is focus on how you are going to adjust to the changes that take place, rather than panicking about the fact that they are taking place. Some things can be changed and some things cannot. But what can be changed is the loss of biodiversity. This can have a great and negative impact on all of your world's ecosystems, and this can still be prevented. So there needs to be emphasis on preventing the deforestation of many places in your world that could lead to great disruptions in ecosystems and loss of many important crops for animals and for humans.
How do you choose the mediums that you use to communicate with her?
They choose as well. They choose themselves in their interest in developing skills to work within other dimensions. Some of them don't realize they're making these choices. And so we've selected certain channels by presenting ourselves in the form of sightings to awaken them to the potentiality of multidimensional interactions. And other channels were naturally inclined to work towards opening their psychic gifts, and when the time was right, we made ourselves known to them. So it's a sort of two-way street, but between not just channels, but other great innovators, there's a sort of soul bond that some of you describe as past and future lifetimes. It's a bit more complex than to use those simple terms, though generally these souls are a part of the same soul group or oversoul, and when souls are bonded at that level, and in a sense a part of the same network, energy exchanges between them more seamlessly. So upon incarnating, some of this bond is already formed.
And everybody has that already? Like
Yes.
to some soul groups?
You have many soul counterparts. Some of them are from your planet and some of them are from other planets. All right, let's close with a final meditation. Bringing yourself to close your eyes, sit up nice and tall, and focus your awareness in your heart. Picture a brilliant light in your heart that expands with every breath. With every inhalation, it transforms. With every exhalation, it expands through your body and reaches further corners of your body, spreading with an exhalation out into your shoulders and your abdomen, spreading with the next exhalation to the tip of your head and the tips of your fingers, spreading again down your legs out to your toes, and noticing that every cell in your body is vibrating and glowing this beautiful light. And now this light starts to expand around your body. It fills a beautiful shape of an egg that surrounds you and grows brighter and bigger until it fills the entire room, until it blinds you to all of your surroundings, and all you note is this light with its center in your heart. We would ask you to smile and feel this light grow even brighter. And as you smile, remember the moments in your life that made you smile the very most. When were you the happiest, most joyful, most excited? What moments in your life filled you with greatest awe and wonder? Feel these so-called past moments alive within you in the present. Allow this energy to expand you. staying focused in this loving, expansive vibration, allow yourself to imagine as well so-called future moments that might be the exact thing that you hope for and wish for. Allowing these visions to continue to expand your heart. Allow the sensation in your body to continue to expand. And dissolve these visions now and focus just on the sensation and emotion in your body alone. And ask your imagination to give either a color, an image, a sound, even a fragrance that would describe this energy, this emotion of love. Allow your imagination to paint a multidimensional portrait of this feeling of love in your body. And remember the sensation, and remember whatever you come to associate it with. Maybe you even get a name to describe it. So we would invite you now, daily, to when you wake up and when you meditate, focus on this sensation. Imagine that you can bring this sensation back into your body. If it is not possible to instantly evoke this sensation, remember the image, the sound, the smell that you've come to associate with it. And focus upon that, so you can viscerally bring the sensation back. And then allow the sensation to motivate you to action. Whatever action comes to you that would expand the sensation, choose it. Allow yourself to intuitively sort through your options. See whichever one lines up with a deepening into this feeling of love. If you can do this and you can apply this, your entire life will change. So we've already said. So we hope you enjoy it and allow this energy to carry you and come to realize that you can change your frequency at a fundamental level with your will, with your intention, and by most importantly, choosing whatever you love the most. So we extend our unconditional love and gratitude to you once again. We thank you for allowing this transmission to take place, and we wish you then, well, a fantastic rest of your day. Okay, cool. Yeah, how's everybody feeling?